Okay, the red numbers are the information they gave us in the problem. This is exercise 10.4 on page 447. So, we should have used 2,000 hours. That's 0.10 times 20,000. That's the standard time given. And our standard rate is $24 an hour, so that's 48,000. So altogether we have a $1,300 unfavorable variance. Now it asks us to look at the labor rate, the labor spending variance, and it asks us to look at the variable overhead spending variance. So I have enough room on this one side of the paper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the formula method instead of the table form. So the labor efficiency variance is the standard rates times the actual hours minus the standard hours. And we can fill that in. $24 is the standard rate. The actual hours is 2,125. The standard hours, 2,000. So that gives us a labor efficiency variance of $3,000 unfavorable. Now this is labor. So that's the efficiency variance, okay? Now we're going to do the labor rate variance. This is the actual hours of labor times the actual rate minus the standard rate. So we have 2,125 hours as given times 2320. Now we had, the way we came up with that is we took the 49,300 that they gave us and divided it by the 2125 that they gave us. And we're going to subtract from that 2320 the $24 that we should have paid. And when we multiply that out, we come up with a $1,700 favorable rate variance. Now, I'm going to switch colors because we're going to be doing the overhead variances, and they look a lot like the labor variances. I'm going to switch to orange, and we're going to do the same thing, but for overhead. And overhead, again, this should look real familiar to you. Standard rate times actual hours. Hours is the driver minus standard hours. Look familiar? Okay. So our standard rate is $16. Our actual hours were 21.25. Our standard hours would have been 2,000. So 16 times 125 gives us a $2,000 unfavorable labor rate, or efficiency variance, excuse me. Now we're going to do the same thing for the overhead rate variance. And again, I think you're going to see that this looks real familiar. I'm going to do it at the bottom here so I have room to get it in. I have actual hours times actual rate minus standard rate. And yeah, that looks a lot like that. So the actual hours that we used was 21.25. Okay. Our actual rate was $18.40. And the way we come up with $18.40 is we took the 39,100 that they gave us, okay, and we divided it by the 2,125 hours. That's how we come up with the $18.40 minus the $16, the standard rate, And when we did that, our overhead rate variance was $5,100 unfavorable. So I want to see that the rate variances, whether it's for labor or for overhead, are very, very similar. They look a lot alike. You're basically doing the same thing and just changing the names and the numbers slightly.